6 types of anxiety disorders. It's natural to feel anxious or nervous from time to time. However, when anxiety or panic becomes unbearable, it could be the sign of an anxiety disorder. It's critical to understand, manage, and lessen your anxiety. This is how you can reclaim your sense of fulfillment and happiness. The following are the 6 primary categories of anxiety disorders and their subtypes, including their signs and symptoms. 1. Generalized anxiety disorder, GAD. Generalized anxiety disorder, GAD, is characterized by increased anxiety and tension that lasts for months. GAD patients tend to worry excessively and anticipate tragic outcomes. Worry can involve having recurring worries about one's health, finances, or job. Even mundane things such as organizing appointments and repairing cars come to mind. Furthermore, this condition is frequently linked to depression, drug and alcohol abuse, and physical health issues. Signs and symptoms: generalized anxiety disorder, GAD. Headaches and disturbed sleep are some of the common signs and physical symptoms of generalized anxiety disorder. Others include fatigue, muscle aches and tension, difficulty swallowing, trembling, twitching, irritability, sweating and hot flashes, restlessness, difficulty concentrating, gastrointestinal symptoms and back pain.
Hi, just a quick intro first before we move on. My name is Jessie. If you appreciate psychology content like this and have found useful information so far, kindly like and subscribe to support my channel. Thank you very much, and let's continue now.
2. Phobia-related disorders. A phobia is when a person has a strong dread of a specific scenario, place, or thing. It's typical to feel nervous before an interview, a doctor's appointment, or a sporting event. When a person has a phobia-related disorder, on the other hand, their fear is out of proportion to the danger they are in. Because a phobia is related to something specific, it differs from generalized anxiety disorder. Signs and symptoms: phobia-related disorders. Sees a minor blunder in a much more dramatic light. Excessive worry or strong anxiety may be experienced when confronted with the feared circumstance or object. Make a conscious effort to avoid the frightened scenario or thing. You find blushing to be excruciatingly humiliating. They may have the impression that everyone is staring at them. Fear of public speaking, speaking with persons in positions of power, dating, using public restrooms, or eating out. Specific phobias impact a greater number of people than overall anxiety disorders. A specific phobia affects persons who have a strong fear or anxiety over a specific object or scenario and can be triggered by a variety of objects and events. These include fear of flying, fear of heights, fear of around specific creatures such as spiders or snakes, getting shots or injections and seeing blood. People who suffer from phobias frequently have a sense of impending doom when confronted with their feared circumstance or object. Agoraphobia means fear of open spaces. Fear is linked to a location or situation in this illness. Agoraphobics are afraid of being confined outside their home or in large groups. People with agoraphobia avoid social interactions and stay in their homes to escape the circumstance or area they are afraid of. People who suffer from this phobia are terrified of having a panic attack in an area where they can't readily flee, or when there is no one to help. 3. Obsessive-Compulsive Disorder, OCD. Obsessive-Compulsive Disorder, OCD, is characterized by intrusive thoughts or obsessions that cause a person to become anxious. Another distinguishing aspect is the use of compulsions, or repetitive or ritualistic acts, to reduce anxiety. According to research, contamination fears or fears of harming oneself or others are the most common symptoms of OCD. Some of which are sexual, religious, somatic, and musical in nature. Signs and symptoms: obsessive-compulsive disorder, OCD. Obsessions are defined by the Lancet as recurrent and persistent thoughts, urges, or visions that are viewed as invasive and inappropriate at some point during the disturbance and produce substantial concern or distress. Obsessions may include fear of contamination or germs, concerns about harming oneself or others, fear of misplacing or losing something, putting objects or things in symmetrical or flawless order, unwanted thoughts that are prohibited. A person with OCD is likely to suppress their obsessive thoughts and impulses. They may also try to distract themselves from the thoughts and impulses by thinking about or doing anything else. Compulsions, on the other hand, are repetitive behavior, for example, hand washing, ordering, checking, or mental acts, for example, praying, counting, quietly repeating phrases that a person feels compelled to undertake in response to an obsession, or according to rigorous rules. Compulsions may include excessive cleaning or washing of a body part, hoarding or keeping superfluous objects, arranging items in a precise manner, constantly checking on things, such as making sure the kitchen stove is turned off, counting items repeatedly, always seeking reassurance. Fear of contamination or germs is a typical obsession, and continual cleaning is a common compulsion that goes along with it. 4. Panic disorder. People with panic disorder have panic attacks on a regular basis. Along with the attacks comes the fear of future attacks. People's behavior alters dramatically as a result of their fear. Signs and symptoms: panic attack. Heart palpitations or a pounding heartbeat, trembling or shaking, shortness of breath, a choking sensation, feelings of impending doom, loss of control, feeling unreal or detached from surroundings, cold or hot flashes, fear of dying or going insane. Although a panic attack only lasts a few minutes, the repercussions of having one might be remembered for a long time. Multiple panic attacks can be emotionally draining for those who suffer from panic disorder. Recurrent panic attacks can eventually develop to a slew of panic disorder symptoms. Avoiding specific places or situations is referred to as phobic avoidance. Situations where a panic attack has already occurred, as well as places where finding aid might be difficult, are avoided. What causes panic attacks? The specific source of this disorder, as well as the cause of panic attacks, is unknown. However, research has found that panic attacks tend to run in the family. Aside from that, attacks might occur at a major life transition. They can occur when you switch careers, have a child, marry, or redesign your home. The attack can also be triggered by periods of intense stress, such as the death of a family member, divorce, or the loss of job. Finally, a panic attack might be brought on by a medical condition. Certain medical conditions can bring on panic, such as hyperthyroidism, having an overactive thyroid gland, hypoglycemia, having low blood sugar, mitral valve prolapse, a minor cardiac problem, overuse of stimulants, such as amphetamines, cocaine, or caffeine, and withdrawing from medications. 5. Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. After a near-death experience, a catastrophic injury, sexual violence, or another traumatic incident, post-traumatic stress disorder can emerge. It's only reasonable to be terrified in these or other distressing situations. Almost everyone goes through a range of emotions after a traumatic event. However, the majority of those people are able to recover in a reasonable amount of time. Anyone who is feeling constant emotions and whose regular life has been disrupted may be suffering from PTSD. Signs and symptoms: post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. PTSD symptoms usually appear 3 months after a distressing experience. In some situations, symptoms do not appear for years. When a person's symptoms interfere with their relationships or their job for more than a month, they are diagnosed with PTSD. Everyone's PTSD is different. Some people may be suicidal or want to harm themselves. Others will suffer from sadness or anxiety or develop an addiction to alcohol or narcotics. The trauma you've experienced may come back in the form of intense recollections, flashbacks, or nightmares, sweating or heart palpitations, feeling the need to be on guard, difficulty sleeping, angry or emotional reactions or outbursts, blaming oneself for the horrific event, and feeling hopeless. 6. Social anxiety disorder. Social anxiety disorder, sometimes called social phobia, is characterized by excessive anxiety or terror. These sensations are more common in social situations where one feels scrutinized, assessed, or rejected. As a result, persons who suffer from this condition try to avoid social situations. If you can't avoid the situation, you'll experience a lot of anxiety and distress. Those who are affected by the disease may feel powerless. The condition usually manifests itself throughout adolescence. The symptoms, like those of other anxiety disorders, can profoundly affect daily life. Having long-term romantic relationships, friendships, a job, and a social life can be difficult. Those who suffer from this condition are more likely to become depressed and abuse alcohol. Signs and symptoms: social anxiety disorder. Avoid most social encounters, especially with strangers, fear of being teased or criticized, fear of being the center of attention, feel nauseous or sick to their stomach in social settings, blush, sweat, rapid heart rate, or tremble, difficulty making eye contact or speaking loud enough to be heard, feel self-conscious in front of new people, easily embarrassed, feelings of awkwardness, afraid others will judge them, and avoid places with a lot of people. Separation anxiety. When a person with separation anxiety is away from their home or from a specific person, such as their mother or husband, they experience tremendous worry or anxiety. Signs and symptoms: separation anxiety. Feels distressed when separated from home or a loved one. Fears that an attachment figure will be hurt or die. Fears that an unanticipated unpleasant event, such as becoming lost, would result in the separation of an attachment figure. Refuses to leave home for fear of being separated from a loved one or attachment figure. Refuses to participate in social activities or sleepovers that require them to leave their house. Experiencing nightmares that involve being separated from home or loved one/attachment figure. In order for a child or adolescent to be diagnosed with separation anxiety disorder, symptoms must be present for at least 1 month. Adults must have experienced symptoms for at least 6 months. To be diagnosed, symptoms must also interfere with school, social, or occupational functioning. Which type of anxiety disorder apply to you? Many people are affected by anxiety problems. So, if you suspect you have an anxiety problem, obtaining treatment is a worthwhile step to take. Nobody should be alone in this situation. There is help available, and your loved ones want to see you feel well. I hope you feel encouraged to take the steps necessary to get back to being the joyful, healthy, powerful person you once were. If you find this content useful, kindly like and subscribe this channel. Thank you. See you in the next video.